We're live. We're
We're
live.
live. I was gonna wear a costume and then I was like, no, because this will be forever. And I'll be like talking about, my childhood while dressed like, I don't know. I had so many ideas. I was gonna be like the White House chef and just carry around McDonald's bags. Just
Wait,
try to come
are
up
you
with like fun
dressing up?
political things.
Are you dressing up at all today, V?
Yes, because to hand out candy in my neighborhood, I don't necessarily want people to know who I am, where I live. So to not dox myself, I will be wearing a mask.
That makes sense. That
You
makes
know?
sense. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Like, my direct neighbors know me, right? But I not like you tonight, like, the public are out, right? It's like
Right.
the whole
Right.
world
Never
is
know.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween was actually founded as like an anti-doxing uh
They were like,
holiday.
"Yo, we're gonna know all y'all." We give out good candy too. We give out good candy. We're giving out, granola bars and string cheese and fruit. I always give out fruit too because I just think some kids like it, so they'll
Yeah.
have it for snack, but we're giving out, like, extra snacks because obviously, like, the snack stuff
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Cool. Thom, I like you telling us why we're all here.
Okay, cool. Hey,
Number
hey
12.
guys, what's up?
Hey.
So we a couple weeks ago came out with this amazing ID Substack fanzine, masterminded by Christina and myself. V wrote something for it
I did.
that we're gonna talk about. A lot of other great people wrote stuff for it. It's juicy, it's personal, it's interesting.
Mhm.
And I thought it was just a good excuse to kind of like get on the line because we've also never met before. So it's
Yeah.
fun. And we could chat about the zine, we could chat about other stuff. We had a really good chat yesterday about just like why magazines should be on Substack in general, which I think was a really cool thing to talk
Mhm.
about. So like I feel like there's loads of common ground and
Yeah.
chat about.
I had fun writing the piece for it because typically I'm writing about the news, right, which is other people's story, but this one was like I wrote about, growing up with my Uncle Huey who had dementia, and I restacked it this morning, so some of the stackers may know or have read it, but it's not something I, like, really ever talked about. Like, I've even only ever really talked about it with my wife, like, once or twice. Like, it's not like a story that I talk about this experience I had for how big of a part of my life it was. So
Yeah.
interesting. It's like
I
therapy.
So tell the folks
and
at home a bit more about
Sure.
what the Uncle Huey story is. Because I can paraphrase it, but I feel like it's better coming from
feel like
you.
I want to show it too.
Oh, yeah, show it.
Mhm.
Show it. We'll do show, and then I'll tell.
I loved it so much. It was such a fun read. And I think you're right, V. Like, you're always sharing the news with us. Like, you're always telling other people's stories. So it was really cool to get this
Yeah.
like glimpse into your life growing up. So I love the artwork for this zine.
Yes.
It's so cool. So all the artwork was inspired by the essay. I don't know how well you can see it. But go ahead, tell us a little bit about Uncle Huey.
So, my mom, had me very young, and so I've had many lives with my mother, and the story, while it's about my Uncle Huey living with us, it really is about my mom, which I didn't realize until I was done writing it, and that's why, like, the last sentences of it is like, I should call my mom. I've never asked her how she felt about everything that we did as kids. So my mom was working as a nurse, and her father had passed away when she was 8 years old. So this guy, Uncle Huey, who was her father's brother, really became like the male figure in her and her sister's lives growing up. You know, when my grandma maybe needed a couple bucks for something, it was Uncle Huey who would step in. When it came time for like good Christmas, it was Uncle Huey who would step in. And he never had his own children, so my mom and her sisters really became like very close nieces, much more than maybe you would consider if he had had his own children. So that's kind of the start of it. And Uncle Huey was the postmaster general for the Navy. He was like an investment guy when he got out. He was like for sure my richest family member. And again, he had no kids. So he built this cool house and it had a pond and he always had kids around. But we always knew that part of like his sadness in life was that he and his wife never had children. And he was always like sad about that. And that plays into this. So His wife passes away. He gets this dope-ass girlfriend that I loved. Her name was Vazzy. She was French, and she lived on 2nd Avenue in an artist apartment that she had had since, like, 1940, and she was just the coolest, most eccentric lady, like Eartha Kitt type woman, which was nothing at all like what my uncle's
What
first
was
wife was like.
the thing I wondered when I was reading it was like what was kind of like the Vazzy like wardrobe like? Like was she wearing like a big fur coat?
Yes. Okay, so imagine, like, truly like Eartha Kitt. Like, she always had, like, a little hat, she was dripping in jewels all the time, she was an artist, she had been a nude model in her day. She was European, right? She was French. Her first husband had been, like, a big famous artist in New York City, like, fine artist, and she had this, like I remember going in her apartment, and I was, like, maybe 12 the first time, and it was on 2nd Avenue, and it was multiple rooms, and it looked like where Marie Antoinette would live or something. It was just, like, crazy, eccentric old lady, awesome, so I loved her. And she had, like, a little accent, and she was, like, always touching him and in love with him, and they were, like, 80, and I just thought this was, like, the cutest damn thing ever. And they would go to Broadway shows and dinner and, like, this whole thing. So, she really was, like, the highlight of when he first started seeing her and he would take us to see her in the city, like, that was a big thrill. And I never saw her without full makeup and a fur on, right? Like, doesn't matter what time of day, just, like, old Hollywood glamour, so much fun. And so Uncle Huey, unfortunately, at the height of, like, really living this second life of, like, traveling and doing all this stuff, he had a fall, and he was gonna have to go into a nursing home, and my mom was like, "Oh my god, that'd be such a shame because he's still so active. He just had dementia now, and with the fall, he couldn't really be at home by himself anymore." So, they looked at, like, the best possible memory care spaces and, like, should we have him in New York City or should we have him in New Haven or, like, what could we do to, like, ensure he had this better life? And my mom was like, "Well, he could come live with us," because we had a big house and her kids were pretty young. I'm the oldest, so the other ones were much smaller, and she's like, "I could take care of him, and then I could be a stay-at-home mom for the other kids," and, like, that was gonna work out. And she had this training, so it was all gonna be great. She did not have training in memory care or dementia, though. She had, like, general nursing.
Yeah.
So, like, "Oh,
Different.
that's so cute. Look, Perce has something so nice to say to us for Halloween." Um, so he came to live with us, and the way I describe it in the story is we did not know what to do, so whimsy became medicine. Like, that's what it was. Like, she would just be like, "Let's just make this as easy as possible for him." So he thought he was a young man. We removed all the mirrors on the first
I
floor where
love
his room was because
it's
she was like,
amazing. I loved that
I
detail.
wish someone would come and do that at my house because
I know.
I
Just
feel
for
like
mental
I feel like
wellness.
I'm
You know
10
what's
years
funny?
younger until I see myself in the mirror. So
Is I say this all the time now, but it comes from that time too when she took the mirrors down because she was like, it upsets him. Like common sense. I would just if I take them down, then I don't worry. Then it's no big deal. Who cares? And the whole like of this time, I don't remember if it was her or my grandmother who was saying it. They're like, you're not supposed to look at yourself this much anyway. It just makes people uncomfortable to look at their face this much. We don't need all these mirrors around here anyway. So there was no mirrors in the bathroom downstairs or anything, which was fun. And the way that our house was set up, it was a big colonial house in Connecticut. And my mom, brother, and sister's rooms and a bathroom with a jacuzzi were upstairs. And then my bedroom was downstairs right next to his. And so me and him were like on the first floor where the kitchen was. And then it was like sunken living room and sitting room and all that kind of stuff. So I was the closest to him in terms of like hearing him or being around him or whatever. Um, and we just pretended whatever he thought was true, and we were young enough that it was kind of like living in Never Never Land, right? It was like a fairy tale. It was like play pretend all the time. So, if he was having flashbacks to World War II or to delivering mail, well, then we got up and delivered mail, and my mom would just put out, like, envelopes and stuff, and we'd just be stamping mail with him. Or if he remembered, like, when he was in college and he played soccer, we were gonna go outside and run drills and play soccer because it was time to practice for soccer, like and that's where I say whimsy became medicine, and she, against doctor's orders in many ways, was like, "I'm not going to panic him. I'm not gonna make him cry that I'm telling him your wife is dead and you're old," and, like, he's like, "What are you talking about?" And the other thing that we did with him is he thought we were his kids, And he would say to us, like, oh, I didn't think, because he knew he couldn't remember good, but he didn't know it. He wasn't with it enough to like understand dementia. And he'd be like, I didn't think I had children, but I'm so glad you're here. And we have so much fun. And it was like, yeah, we do. And so, you know, he just thought my dad was like a guy who worked at the house, I guess. Like my mom was like a nanny or something, but it was really interesting for that to be like your reality.
And I think it's cool because like I think the thing I love about the story is that I feel like there's this kind of like it's like almost like a horseshoe effect where it's like
Yeah.
kids and old people kind of
Yeah.
see the world the same. And so
Yep.
I think like I think especially if you're like you don't really know what's going on as an old person, like that's even more childlike. And so I think that's like I don't know, I think a lot of people can relate to it. I feel like it's a very um yeah, like universal experience. It's kind of like older
The
relative.
other thing that made this easier is, like I said, he was really wealthy. Like he had a lot of money. He didn't have kids and he invested well and he always had a big job. So he had a lot of money. And he knew that he had money, even though he knew that he was old. So he would still want to do the stuff he was used to doing. So, like, if he wanted to order pizza, he'd be like, all right, I'm ordering pizza tonight. What do the kids want to get? And we would just be like, get it. We would scam him sometimes to be like, Uncle Huey, we want to get pizza. And he'd be like, all right, I'll tell the lady, I'll tell your mom to go get us pizza. Like, we were like in cahoots with him. And he loved to go to the theater and he loved to shop for clothes. And he had a guy at Seckham's, was the men's store in our town back when, like, used to get custom clothes made. So my mom would take him down there and the tailor would make him new clothes and he would get suits like he was going to work. He got up every single day, shaved, got dressed like he was going to go to work. And it was just incredible and fun. But, oh, we got to send Christina the invite again.
Oh, how does that work?
So there should be like a plus button and
Oh, I see
then,
it.
yeah, add her in.
Okay.
So she would take him to do that, but he loved to go to Broadway shows. And I wanted to be on Broadway when I was a kid. I was like very much a theater kid. So I felt really lucky because he would be like, okay, he'd get like his little, New York Times to the house and look up what Broadway show was that weekend and go buy tickets. And we would all go. And my favorite memory of him was we went to see the musical Swing, which was right up his alley, right? And we were sitting in the balcony and it was the 2:00 show, and my dad would drive us, right? So we go down to the city and go to the show, and he walked right out to the box office after the first showing, and he bought 5 more tickets to the night show because he liked it so much and he wanted to sit closer. And it was just stuff like that that definitely his financial independence, even though he wasn't like totally with it, afforded him to like kind of be able to keep this up. Because I know there's so many people who care for a dementia parent that don't have that kind of like luxury. And my mom was like, whatever, man, we thought he was going to live with us for a couple weeks. It was almost 10 years that she kept him alive and well with this like whimsy as medicine thing.
Wow. Incredible. And so I was curious that, because you mentioned just now, but also in the piece that you wrote that like you don't really write about your personal life very
Mhm.
often, or that like you mostly focus on the news, like not like history from your own life. So like, what was it like to kind of like go there writing wise? Like, did it feel different than the things you normally work on, or like did you kind of discover anything new? And that like, do you want to write stuff like this more? Or
No, no, I don't. Not at all, actually. I think what's so interesting that I learned about myself is I am very good at, taking in incredibly difficult stories, making sense of them, and giving them back to people in a way that we can all manage. Revisiting my childhood was not something that my journalist training trained me for. And remembering all that was like, I don't know, it's like visiting a ghost or something. And also, when he passed away, I was in college, so I was older already. Um, and it was like the death of a sibling, because I grew up with him basically, and he was like my mom's fourth kid in many ways. Like she made us lunch, she made him lunch. We got a sticker, he got a sticker. We got in the car, we all got in the back together. Like
Mhm.
he was one of us in so many ways. And when I wrote that for the story, I was like, oh man, I really think I probably hadn't like fully processed that because I was in college and it was like, wow, the way that it was sort of treated when he did finally pass away was like, oh my God, how incredible. Mommy was able to give him this life for the last 10 years that we didn't think he was going to live 10 weeks when he first came. So it was hard to visit myself in that time. And then also with the experience I have as an adult. And that's why in the piece I write at the end, I think I should call my mom because I have never asked her. And I bother this woman all day. My mother, I bother her truly all day, every day of her life. I have never. And I've never asked her how she felt about it. Like, did she feel like she was doing a good job for us? Like, how did this affect her and my dad's marriage? How did this affect, like, her career trajectory? Because she didn't go back to work after this and she didn't do nursing anymore after this. Like, what did she think about it? You know, was it worth it? Would she have done the same again? Or how she would have done it different? So, yeah, it was
Have you
hard.
did you have that conversation? You also don't have to share, but, like, have you talked to her about it since you wrote this, or
I haven't, honestly, because we have some other stuff going in our family right now that we're focused on. My sister has a child that was born with a little bit of a heart defect, so we're like, he's okay, but, like, we're, like, working through that, so I didn't wanna, like, bring it up for her either,
right.
and I was like, "Okay, let's wait till Vinny's good to go, and then we'll bring up that I wrote about Uncle Huey," because she reads everything I do.
Oh,
It So she may have gotten the email with the Substack, but she has not brought it up yet either, so I think we'll check in with Maureen on a stronger day.
yeah, yeah. That's so funny. I loved where it ended because it's so true. It's like we don't really we think about our parents in relation to ourselves.
Yep.
It's such a selfish,
Mhm,
and we don't really think about like, "Oh, yeah, how did that feel for you?" It's always like, "Why did you do that to me?" Or what, you know what I mean?
mhm.
Like it's yeah,
Well,
I
and
loved
there
that.
were things that were really fun about Uncle Hughie, and there was stuff that sucked, just like
Yeah.
anything else in your
Yeah.
life. Like I write in there about we never really went on like a vacation that far away or for that long because my mom could, what she could like get, like help for him for a couple of days, but you can't just you can't really take him that far, like out of his world, and you can't leave him for that long, even with like other caregivers because he's very confused. So that stuff was kind of hard. I'm sure it was difficult on our marriage with my dad that she was so dedicated, but my dad worked a lot for
Mhm.
us. So he was like forever the dad who was like he would like go to his job, then he'd work overtime, then he'd like bring in a car to fix up to sell because I wanted to do cheerleading or whatever the case may be. Like he was always working and I know that they really wanted to be parents and stuff and so I know that they loved us and being parents, but I do think it must have been hard for him and her to navigate like another adult in the house that was, had a lot of medical needs.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And she fought with the rest of my family a lot about the way she cared for him because everybody's got an opinion. You
Right,
shouldn't be
yeah.
running him up to the city. You're spending all his money on whatever he wants to do. What's an old man need new clothes for? Why is you going on these dates with his girlfriend? What do you mean he went to see a Broadway show 2 times in one day? Everybody had all these ideas about what he should do with his money. And my mom was like, whatever, he's an adult. We do what
Yeah,
he wants to do. Like,
yeah.
so a lot of folks were like waiting to get their inheritance off him probably, and she was letting him spend it on what he would have wanted to do as a person.
Yeah, good for her.
He did buy me braces 2 times, that was very nice. A lot
Aw.
That's the thing, like, a lot of his money was spent on him and, like, the things he chose to do or where he wanted to go, but there would be sometimes because, again, he was used to being the uncle that got called when somebody needed something for their kids or needed help with whatever, and, my parents had this owl that had all their bills in it, and they would, like, lay it out, and I just remember him being like, "What are you doing there?" And she's like, we gotta figure out, V needs braces again because they didn't wear their retainer, so now we and I
Oh,
have them for the 3rd time right now because
I
I
was
still
gonna
didn't wear the retainer.
yes.
I have always had braces, like, forever on and off. Here we are again, how funny. And he was like I just remember being like, I'll take care of the kids' teeth. I'll take care of the kids' teeth." And it was like,
Aw,
"Okay, okay." Like, it's cute.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was a great, wonderful man. Just truly lovely and very lucky. And I think it's really, like, colored my relationship with elders in my community to this day in a way that's so
yeah,
positive and so something that you've, like I think a lot of kids don't get exposed to old people as much as we did, and we just were always with them, right? Like forever. Even when my grandma went into the nursing home at some point, like we were forever up there. And my grandma be like, go over and say hi to, Mrs. Dazzy because her kids never come and say hi to her. Like we were forever somebody else's children.
yeah, I love that. Um, Thom, I don't know if you have a question, but I'm gonna jump in. And V, you were just quoted in an article. I forget what publication it was, but you were talking about there was a quote that I love so much. Um, that was like how you explained how Substack, because yesterday we talked quite a bit about Substack, and I
Mhm.
think you have your own media platform too. So it was talking like we were talking about how ID kind of sees Substack and where it all fits in. But I love how you described all the different places you show up, like,
Mhm.
and what they mean. Like, how, can you just say that again? Like, YouTube is was such a great. I want
Oh
Thom to
my
hear it too.
God.
So
Sometimes I got these winners and then I don't remember them afterwards. I was talking about it in relation to being a chef, I think. I was talking about, like,
yeah.
the culinary experience of social media and where I show up for you, right? And, like, TikTok is your appetizer. I'll give you a little try of something. YouTube's where my, like, big, catering dinners are, a little something for everybody, and it's a longer event. I structure my day with people to say each one of the platforms that I'm on serves a different purpose. And I do tend to put a hospitality lens on everything I do because that's the industry I came from. And so I
Mhm.
can't help but think about, like, not what is the content I'm making, but what is the promise I've made to the audience, which is what I learned from the culinary world. You're not just serving a roast chicken, you're serving a promise. You're serving a dream. You're serving a memory. This is going to be somebody, because I worked in like high end catering. So it's always like special occasion for somebody or something that they maybe saved up for. How are you going to make sure it was worth it, the value to them? And it's not just how good the chicken tastes, it's how heavy was the door when you lifted it? What was the hostess like? What does it smell like? What is the music? What's the lighting look like? When you sit in your chair, is it comfortable? Did you get water within 3 minutes? Was the butter whipped? Was the bread good? Was the appetizer good? Did the bar drinks like match what you were going with? You have to think of the whole entire experience for people. And I do that with my social media where I'm like, okay, in the morning, I'll throw out a couple snarky things on threads to be like, okay, good morning. We're waking up and we're already pissed, right? Like here's what happened while you were sleeping. And then sometimes it's like comfort content. Like some of the stuff I've been doing right now is just reflecting back to people. This is where we are. We're in a situation where our government is committing atrocities. And that's why you feel bad, because your whole life you've been told America is the good guy. And it's undeniable that you're seeing bad guy stuff happen. So, like we have to sort of address that and get to that next. And Substack is a place where I think my most educated and thoughtful and dedicated audiences are. I think it's folks who not just watch videos, but read articles, are curious and interested. They obviously migrated from a very easy to scroll place to a dedicated space. You make a choice to open Substack and spend time.
Mhm.
And so, those are my regulars. And I try to really make sure that we have like regular specials over here, stuff that there's not.
Mhm.
The public is over there. This is our friends and family content.
Yeah. I think you also said it was like your food truck. It's like where you
Oh,
really
my
engage
food
with the
trucks. Yeah, where do you
community
park
and
your
like
food truck?
you're talking to the people and like
Yeah.
I just loved that. Thom, how does that resonate? Like what do you think of that those
I think it's a
analogies?
really I'm gonna have to steal that metaphor at some point because I feel like there's always I feel like one of the big riddles of like publishing is kind of like, there's so many platforms, what goes on what platform.
Hmm.
But I think at the end of the day, it's all, you know, to borrow your metaphor, it's all about the kind of like experience or ambiance you bring to the stories you're telling, and like I think that's the thing that people get hooked on. It's not like, was it a 30-second video? Was it an hour-long video or whatever? It's
Hmm.
like they just kind of like they want like a certain perspective or like I think like a certain like amount of like human relationship or like empathy in
Yep.
certain cases. So I think that's like so I think it's a good way to put it because in a way it's like the restaurant doesn't say like, oh, we're gonna make like tacos as our appetizer and Italian food as our entree because that's like the most popular thing.
Yeah, you do what you're good at. Yeah. Right. You're totally right.
Because that totally happens. Like I feel like there's sometimes you can get caught in a trap of being like, oh, I need to make myself more TikTok-y to
Hmm.
be on TikTok, or I need to make myself Substackier to be on
Hmm.
Substack or whatever. So it's like I think there's like a good but I think in a way it's like different ways of experiencing the same thing.
I think everybody should really think about what their vision statement is and their mission statement is for their content, right? Like it's just like a business. So my promise to the audience is that I'll give you the day's news and events in a kind way from a safe space. That's the number one promise. That doesn't mean we don't try some specials here and there, see how that goes. Maybe it gets on the regular menu. Maybe we like that, right? Like we
Mhm.
did
I
shit
love that.
talking and speculating, which was like this gossip seshy thing I do with Katie Fang and Sammy. Did it a couple times. Now it's on the regular menu. People liked
Love
it, but
that.
it's not going to like jar you into being like, where's my normal roast chicken and cheesecake? Like, you never want to mess with the regulars because those are your bread and butter, but you can, they like to see new stuff too.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna talk about Substack all the time now. Here's what you should do.
Yeah, I know. It's like we're like Substack philosophers at this point. But like I feel like but I think it's also quite interesting in the context of news because like I think, in a way, ID, it's a very specific kind of platform.
Mhm.
It's about fashion, which like some people are more into fashion than others. Within fashion, it's about kind of like more underground, like youth cultural things, which is like
Mhm.
some people just like aren't as into that. So there's a kind of like in a way like it's not like a universal
Mhm.
thing necessarily. Whereas like I think what's quite interesting is like what you do with the news is like you basically like you take something that everyone's talking about, but you do so in a way that's like very kind of like in tune with your specific audience. And I think
Mhm.
like people want that because it's like I feel like they tune into ABC or like XYZ news station and they just get something that's kind of made for everyone, but it's kind
Mhm.
of for no one.
Yeah.
So
Right. You have to know yourself. So this is not a clock in, clock out job for me. And I've been on television lots of times, TV news programs. It's a clock in, clock out job.
Yeah.
The TV part. Now, the journalists that are there, let's take Antonia Hilton, just for example, who's one of the hosts on MSNBC and who I really have a ton of respect for. When she's doing the weekend, she's doing her job, but that's her clock
Mhm.
in job at MSNBC. Here's the expectation. You got to do these tasks in this amount of time, and here's your camera to look at. I would say she's doing that over there, but if you look at her Substack or you look at the book she just wrote called Madness, you look at some of the more like social justice reporting that she does, that's a whole other person, right? That's really her with her heart out. And when you're a content creator, news creator, you're your full whole self without an editor or any clock in, clock out job tasks to do other than you need to make content, right? That's your thing. But the content you make, you really get to decide. Am I hitting the core audience today? Am I trying to speak outside my box? I make that clear up front. Hey, this is probably not for the regulars. This is for folks who are talking about this thing, or I just want to speak to, people who aren't going to vote for Kamala or whoever. Um, you have a lot more vulnerability, and I think that gives you that authenticity that people really like too. It's a difficult spot to be in because as soon as you are a creator, you lose all of your anonymity, especially if you become successful, and you are expected to be your whole person all the time. So some folks in the beginning would ask me, "Is Under the Desk News like a creation? Is it like a character that you play?" And I was like,
Mhm.
I wish that I had been that thoughtful as to like be the
Mhm.
SpongeBob fish that does news or something, right? But no, it was me and this is how I am all the time. And
Mhm.
then that's why you like some of your favorite creators because it's how they are all the time. I learned
yeah,
to be like this from my mom. My mom was my favorite journalist. She used to listen to the
Mhm.
police scanner. And then I come home from school, my dad come home from work or whatever, and we'd be like, "Ma, what happened today?" And she would be like, "Oh my God, here's what happened." Right. So
I love
that all
that.
comes from her. Like, and the way that what happened on the police scanner, what does that mean for us? Right. So
Mhm.
yeah. It's quite interesting because like I've sometimes used this like metaphor with magazines, whereas like I think being a magazine editor is like it's a type of method acting, like because you're not like for example, ID existed before I was born. So it's
mhm,
not like an extension of me. But in a way, in order to be the editor of it, I have to kind of like live 24 hours a day in like a kind of like new mode and mindset. And like,
right.
sort of the way that like Daniel Day Lewis will pretend to be like in the
The
1800s.
method actor. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think there's this kind of like method acting thing to it, even when you're doing it like at another company. But I feel like when you're kind of like a, like you said, for you, it's almost like be like, this is just your life. Like you're living and breathing
Yeah.
this 24 hours a day. And I think that's like, I think that's the only way to really be authentic.
I also I've already lived in DC and New York for years and years and years. I live in Rochester. I developed Under the Desk while I was in Rochester, and now when I meet folks, they're like, "Oh, you didn't move to the city after you got successful?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, because part of the success is living in Rochester. Part of it is that like I go to Wegmans and people talk to me and I get to know what they care about and I get to be
Yeah.
like a regular neighbor to folks and like
Mhm.
have community and it's not just completely like about trying to like be a celebrity of any type. Like there's no celebrity to it. And I think that that's like better way to show up than if I were to take a job at like a major network or something, and then I'd have to like, yeah. This is my problem with a lot of folks and a lot of society is people get a certain amount of success for doing something, and then they create a financial structure for themselves that separates them from the consequences of a marginalized personality or from general community or from like the day-to-day issues that people have. I think it's what we see in our politicians right now who have become celebrities and very, very wealthy. It's like you lose your whole personhood because now you're trying to keep up the persona.
Mhm. Yep. Wait, V, I have a question about how did the first Under the Desk news start? Like, did you
Oh,
literally go under the desk and where
yeah.
you're like, I want the origin story?
Yes. So for the first 3 or 4 years of Under the Desk, we literally did the show from under my desk.
Mhm.
And I did the suit every day, and I was fully under the desk and everything. And then we sort of stopped doing that fairly recently, mostly because I'm older now than when I started.
Yeah.
I started this 5
Yeah.
years ago, and leaning on your elbows every single day for hours on end for 4 years will really take it out of you. So it was called Under the Desk News because the first episode that I did, I was making cooking content and doing, like, social justice communication.
Okay.
It was January 6th, and I was on the phone with the veterans, like, food hotline people that I was helping in Nashville, and we were figuring out how to give food to unhoused veterans, and above my computer, I could see January 6th happening, like, on CNN and the TV on behind me. I'm supporting an Islamic terrorist in New York.
Now,
I
can
voted
you
for Zora and Mamdani. Richard, calm yourself.
Tom, can you, like,
Well,
mute
no, leave him.
yourself?
He's fine. Richard's
Okay.
fine. Rich, we gotta have a dick every now and then. It's fine. It's fine. I
Yeah.
don't want to censor
Should
you.
I
He's
be
fine.
should I be like, we need like a mod?
No, he's fine.
I know.
I think people don't worry about it. People have to, this is gonna like give Richard so much juice that he got attention today, and everybody needs a little
Yeah.
attention. So
Yeah,
if he wants it, he
Richard.
got it. Anyway, so moving on. He is a dick, lefty Prof. He is a Richard. So we'll let Richard live his life. What was the question again?
How you started Under the Desk
Oh,
News
yes.
and
So it was
yeah.
January 6th. I got under my desk to explain the 25th Amendment to Mike Pence. I was like, Michael Pence, you can invoke the 25th Amendment. You'd be president for 14 whole days. It would be incredible. Incredible. This might be your only chance. And it went super viral. And then my friend Randy was like, you better get back under that desk and tell people what's going on now. And so we started really doing like civics and history and explainers. And then that kind of evolved into doing news.
I love it. I remember my boyfriend, like, years ago, I'm probably close to when you started, would start showing me all your TikTok is where I saw you first, and I was just in it, and then
Yeah.
was so stoked when, I know Bailey helped bring you to
Yeah.
Substack, and I'm just so thrilled you're here.
I love it
It's
here. It's
yeah.
a happy place over here. Like I said, I think it's a really intelligent and curious audience. You do these like, lives and you meet so many other people who share your values and you all follow each other. We have the ability to like, if you want to pay for content, that helps support the team, but we make it all free so that everybody has access. And a lot of folks are happy to pay their $7 a month or their $70 a
Mhm.
year. And they know that like helps us keep making the content. And they don't mind that it's for everyone, which is great.
Mhm.
So I have a question. So like, as you went from kind of like the first version of Under the Desk to building out now, and you were mentioning like, there's certain like house specialties that people seem to like in what ways, like, and I feel like examples are always good for this, but like in what ways have you been like surprised at what people want and surprised at what people don't like? Because I
Mhm.
feel like that's in a way kind of like the publishing journey is you like put things out there and people are like, boo, or they're like, yeah, we love this, give us more. So I don't know. It's like, what was that journey like for you?
I was surprised how many people wanted good news. I
Mm,
was surprised that like Thursday Banana Shirt Good News is like the cult classic following that it has now. And it's like something that I look forward to putting together. People look forward to hearing. Works really great. Um, I think that was the thing I was most surprised by is that the news isn't just, people don't just want the doom and gloom. They
mm,
wanna know what's happening, and that might include really cool stuff about science, that might include really cool stuff just about regular people, like sometimes, viewers will send me, like, a something that's good in their life, and they're like, "It's not necessarily news, but it's something that means a lot to me," and I'll put those in sometimes, like, we recently
I love
had
that.
one where, somebody, had a NICU baby and they were finally able to go outside for the first time in a stroller. And she sent it to me and I put it on Good News because that's a huge deal, right? And there's going to be so many moms that watch and so many families that watch. They're like, oh my gosh, I went through that, or my sister went through that, or whoever. And they're happy that somebody else had that happy day they once had too. So I think you really can't underestimate what good news will be and how even some, some just person's story will become like the top story for that night because it's so meaningful to even strangers who don't know them.
Yeah, I love that. We need that right now, right? More than
Yeah.
ever, I feel like. Yeah.
And then I also have been on this like quest to professionalize the industry in some ways. And I dealt with this when I was at the James Beard Foundation with the restaurants too, right? Like people don't take chefs and restaurant people seriously. They don't see it as like a
Mhm.
real job. And it's a real job with real community that people do for their whole life because they want to, they choose to, not because it's only a survival job. It's because it's your craft, your specialty. And you don't got to be on Top Chef to be a top chef. Like this is your passion. This is your job. And so when I was at James Beard, we were always working on like professionalizing it for the public and getting respect for the industry. I've done so much of that for the creator industry. And I think like maybe we have a ways to go before we get there, but we've come so far to the point that like Harvard has creators in their media cohorts and
Yeah.
Pew Research is studying them. And I get invited to Knight Media Foundation now and to huge journalism conferences and stuff because it's like the associations now over the last 5 years have started to kind of like pick some people they've decided are worthy enough of being like in their association or whatever.
Mhm.
But like all of that matters. And I've worked with SAG a bunch on union representation. It's going to take a while. We do have a union contract in place right now for creators who do commercials to make sure you don't get screwed over. You know what the salary bands should be for different deals, like what a professional actor would get, you should get, legal protection you should get. And we're working towards one for creators in general. It's a little harder because it's not like can't just negotiate with everyone, like millions
Yeah,
of creators. But we're just trying to build industry and respect around it. And I think that's been like the joy of my life in this, and probably the least seen thing that I do.
that's awesome.
So I had to go in a couple minutes, but I wanted to run something by you guys 'cause I feel like you'd have really good opinion about this. So I've been working on a theory that I'm writing a newsletter about. So in addition to ID, like I also write like a newsletter called Content, which is like kind of like about like almost like the philosophy of how content's made. And like
Mhm.
I've actually been thinking about this for a couple years now, but like been thinking about sort of what I call kind of like the ESPNification of culture,
Yeah.
where, I think like if you think about sports fandom before ESPN, it's like you watched your favorite team and that was it. But then like once you have this kind of like always on news thing, suddenly everyone becomes like an expert and it's like
Uh-huh.
fantasy team and like how
Yep.
much the players get paid, how much the coaches get paid, and like you think the coach should get fired because they're not good or whatever. So you
Right.
become almost kind of like this executive in your own mind and the things
Yeah.
you're interested in. And I feel like it's this interesting double-edged sword because like in that kind of thing, it's like you have this like tremendously deep buy-in about certain subjects. But then
Hmm.
at the same time, everyone approaches the subject as though they're this kind of like, like like powerful executive within the
Yep.
field. And I think it's also very common in politics because it's like, you hear a lot of political takes, even from normal people, and it's
Yeah.
almost more like they're almost speaking as though they're consultants. Like so if they're
Hmm.
talking about a candidate, it's like it isn't like, oh, I love this person, like their policies are great. It's almost like their messaging is really strong. Or
Yeah.
like they're
We've all got the lingo now. Hmm.
yeah. And so it's like almost kind of like, and so I wonder how that like first of all, I wonder if you guys have experienced that, but then also like to the extent at which like, you're almost kind of like delivering news to like a bunch of
Yep.
people who probably are like rabid news consumers and think of themselves as like kind of almost similar to what you do as well.
Hmm.
And so like what's it
Yep.
like to kind of like speak to that kind of crowd and how does that affect what you do?
Like I said before, I came from the culinary industry. So everyone thinks they can make what chef makes until you go home and you try to do it. And you're like, shit, there's some magic. Must be the pans or the gas range, or they have better salt than me at that restaurant or whatever. And it's like, no, they have genuine talent. And it's something that takes years and years to do. So one, I think that there's so much room for more creators in the news and politics and education space. I don't think that there is ever going to be enough because everybody learns different and everybody likes to learn from somebody who's kind of like mirrors for them the way that they learn. So like a lot of folks who are news avoidant or like really do good millennials like my content because they're like, okay, that's either they identify with me as like a nerdy millennial who knew too much about everything and was like first to raise your hand in class type person, or they don't really want to deal with the news and they're like, but I don't want to be stupid either. I want to be conversational. So I'll watch a little bit of this just to be conversational enough. But there are other folks who really like sitting for long form and they really like Adam Mockler, right? Maybe they like the way that he can really cut through things. He's a young man. There's people who identify with him, even though we have the same values and message. I couldn't do what Adam does. The same Adam couldn't do what I do. We need both of us and we need more of us. I think about Lysandra, who does like all of the comedy politics stuff. The way that she uses comedy to tell a story is another way of learning. And she's really accurate in her facts, even though she's very funny in her presentation. I think about a lot of the civil rights lawyers that are also political content creators, like I Am Legally Hype or Elizabeth Booker Houston. Or if you think about like, the luncheon lawyer, the way that they're presenting cases, SCOTUS blog, the way they're presenting cases is I am a lawyer and I know how to do this, but I'm also a shit talker and I'm going to tell my friends like what it's like. And they're bringing their whole self to it. And I think that there is just so much more room, whether it's Substack or TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, for more is more right now. So sometimes legacy media will try to ask me like, who do you think is your biggest competition? And I'm like, no one, because I'm not competition for anyone else either. It is an open field right now. We are building the sport of news content creation, if you want to go back to it that way. There is no best in class yet. We're all sort of equal. The only equipment you need, the only car you need is your phone, right? The only way, the way you see the world is unique and interesting and worth talking about. So I think we're in a really cool, interesting time right now, but it's the people who try to be competitive or catty that always end up like burning out really quickly, because this will be a community newsroom more than the establishment legacy newsrooms ever were. Social media doesn't have a top-down editor. Your audience is the people who keep you honest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I love that. It feels like a good place to end and I have nothing to add. I mean, I think that's
go make videos,
right
everyone. Natasha, Michelle, I saw you in here with some good. Richard, go make videos. Everybody make a video, okay? You all had really good comments this whole time. I was just a guy. I was just a guy who went on my desk, got lucky, started making videos. People liked them. You're just a guy. Just make a video.
Yeah, totally. We need it.
Well, it's so nice to meet you, V.
You too. Thanks for having me. Thanks for helping me publish that story. It was very cathartic.
Course. Yeah,
it was lovely.
Might pester you for a second memoir one day. You never know.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
We want more.
See you guys later. Bye. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.